they respond to vibrations, so maybe this might have pissed him off. Arachnids in the UK. It's Doctor Who's latest clash with the eight-legged freaks, and only this time, I would definitely say this might actually be the best one that they've done in that variety. Now, that's a bold statement, because of course, Planet of the Spiders was a great episode, but let's face it, we weren't exactly freaking out by those spiders. I mean, the bits on the back were great, but then when you have them all standing there with warbly voices saying, "Oh, praise to the great one," the intimidation factor kind of... And then you had full circle, very brief, little puppeteering crabby spiders, not really all that. Then you had the Arachnos, who was very big, Sarah Parrish being all, ah! That was a bit silly. Enjoyable, but very silly. Then you got Kill the Moon, which made a stronger effort to try to make him intimidating, but the CGI was a bit naff, and then you had them being killed by Windex, which I guess my Big Fat Greek Wedding had it right. Windex solves everything. Who knew? So that so this one definitely is the strongest of the bunch, and I'd say on a technical level, a lot of it was pretty well realized, even on a television budget. Now, while CGI was noticeable in some spots, it was obviously going to be CGI. It had to be, but I have to say, to its credit, they really did a good job with the physicality of the spiders. They actually did a good job with the twitchy aspect of them. You could tell they may have actually studied footage of spiders, and not just that, but also maybe even a little bit of Return of the King and how well they did Shelob. So they did a very strong job here. And another thing I gotta give praise to Chibnall is that he actually seemed to want to actually study spiders and see what he could do to put that in ways to make the story to make it work in the story. And actually, the one thing he does do. Oh, and yes, we're getting into that. For the finale of the episode, there's of course going to be a big freaking giant spider. But the one thing I gotta say I was really shocked about was they actually made you care about this thing. And I mean, it's big, it's giant, it's intimidating to look at. But then you find out that, unfortunately, and this is a fact, this is actually scientific fact, and this is the reason why we can never have spiders of that size on this planet. Because unfortunately, due to gravity, it weighs down their exoskeletons, making it harder for them to move. And because it's hard for them to move, when they try, they're trying to breathe, but they can't. They are basically dying very slowly, and it's very sad. And what's kind of amazing is that the resolution of this episode involves that, and you see that, and it's actually legitimately sad. And I was very impressed that the episode actually wanted to take the time to do that, to actually give us that, to actually make us kind of feel bad. It's kind of like what would happen if Lucas the spider died. Don't kill Lucas. We love Lucas. I guess my only real niggle on a technical level in this episode is that for as good as the CGI looks on the budget you got, I know you've got it in yourself to not waste money on Spirit Halloween store cobwebs. And sometimes I was looking at it, you didn't even take the time to stretch it out properly. Come on. You know, there's a little thing. It's called a web spinner. It's a hot glue gun and an air hose. You attach it to that, you get webs that look far more convincing. And I'm just shocked that they're not going to pay the 15 quid to go get one of those and make it work. Because I still can't believe they're still using fluffy Spirit store cobwebs for that effect, but that's a minor niggle. So that's just totally minor. That was just something silly on the side. But let's get into the real win of this episode, and it's the win that I've kept. It is pretty consistent throughout the season. Again, this is turning into one of my favorite TARDIS teams, really, hands down, because after we've been on another planet, after we've been on the Desolation planet, and then we met Rosa Parks. And now to come back to Sheffield, and now these characters actually, for their first proper return home, only a mere half hour after they left, and now they actually have to be confronted with reality, or at least their reality. The episode does a really great job emphasizing on all that. While you got Yaz, where we actually finally get to meet Yaz, we get to meet her family, and I'll say her family were exceptionally well fleshed out, that you really get Yaz, and you really understand why she's so hell-bent to be an extraordinary police officer. She wants to be extraordinary, and you can tell she kind of feels maybe suffocated by this family that pretty much it seems to be content to just be people. That's not a bad thing, but for someone like Yaz who has aspirations to be extraordinary, this is not the life she's gunning for. And they do a really good job hitting that home. But to its credit, especially her parents, they are definitely not irritating people. They're just regular people, just plain and simple. And even with that, I was very impressed with Yaz's mom that she was able to take a lot of the crazy things in this episode in her stride. So well done there. And so Yaz had a really strong arc in this episode. But I'd say the real meat in this one was between Ryan and Graham. This is Graham's return back home, and now he has to look around his house and realize that Grace is gone, and that he actually had, because he never really got a chance to just sit in his house and just realize, I'm alone. And this episode did a really good job hitting that, and I was really taken with it. And Graham may actually be probably turning into one of my new favorite companions. He's fantastic. In a way, it's kind of like a new variation on Wilf, which, let's face it, that's never a bad thing. And even Ryan got a sort of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will's dad situation, where his dad calls him like saying, hey, come with me, be with proper family. And that sets him off, and that sets Ryan off, and he's just like, yeah, I really didn't like the way he said that. It made him feel like he's better than everybody. And it leads you to wonder if the Ryan before his trips in the TARDIS, if he got that letter, would he have gone off with his father? But because he's done all these adventures with Graham, and the fact that you can tell he's actually bonded with him to, not a full extent, but to an extent, that you can see it's actually harder for him to even consider that because of all the amazing things he's been doing with Graham. And it's all leading to some just beautiful work. And it all comes forth in a brilliant, absolutely wonderful final scene with all the team in the TARDIS when they finally decide, this is not really a spoiler, this is going to happen because you won't have a series if you don't, when they all decide to finally go off in the TARDIS and just say, screw it, we're going. And I love the way they say it, where they all know that this is dangerous. They are not fools. They've experienced it. It's crazy. It's nuts. But they all know deep down that they can't become what they need to be, or they can't cope the way they need to just by sitting languishing at home. They have to go off and try to do something new with their lives in order to make themselves, in order to achieve the changes in themselves that they want. And that's incredible in this episode. And so to that, and by extension, the Doctor, you can really see how much she has bonded with them in the episodes past, and to see how really sad she was at the prospect that she may not see them again, and how overjoyed and how gleeful she becomes in the finale of the episode. And it's just another stepping stone to make me realize how wonderful and how much Jodie deserves to be among all the other Doctors, and it's outstanding. Now, previously I'd made comparisons to the Fifth Doctor, and that was a strong comparison at first, but now I'm seeing little slivers of the Eighth Doctor, particularly if you've ever listened to the Big Finish radio plays. There's a lot of the Eighth Doctor in her as well, and I'm seeing that here. But nevertheless, I'm even seeing little bits of Jodie herself sneak through in this. So very gradually with every episode, I'm seeing her get more and more defined as the Doctor, and it's wonderful. But I love the fact that it's not taking us. I like the fact that we're really getting to see just little bits. I like we're peeling layers away on that. So let's get into the negative on the episode. The big thing, the Trump clone. First off, I know pot calling the kettle black. I've made many pot shots against Trump on my channel. This one was a bit on the nose, and in an episode that was actually encouraging us to try and take the concept of big spiders actually seriously, and actually being pretty successful for the most part, to have a character who is basically taken from our cartoon president and portrayed here, he was a little on the nose, and he really got irritating in parts. And it even got to the point where I was actually death wishing him. I was actually saying, just kill this guy, please. And unfortunately, the episode does not deliver on that. And I was really kind of just, please don't tell me this guy's going to be a recurring villain. I mean, I know you're trying to hit home the idea that this is that some evil always just gets away. I was like, either way, I just really was not digging this guy. And I was like, can we please get rid of him? He is annoying the hell out of me. And it made it even worse that he did kind of, stuck a pin in one of the most emotional scenes in the movie. And I was like, get rid of this guy, please. give him that doctory justice. Come on, give us something. Don't hint to us that we're going to see this guy again. Unfortunately, that's kind of what they do, and it was a bit of a letdown. Now, the explanation for the spiders actually works. Actually, I kind of liked it because it was a very green death. And I also love that the menace was homegrown. There was no aliens involved in the proceedings, so that was fun. I'd say my major problem with it is that even though they do a good job resolving the spiders in the hotel, they actually do not give any explanation as to what happens with all the spiders outside the hotel, because they were saying that there were sightings and problems happening all over Sheffield over the past couple months, and they don't address it. I mean, you don't have the doctor saying, I shot a message to unit to let them know that this is happening, do what they can to fix it. And it's within the sphere of their abilities, so it's like, but in the end, you still got big spiders running all around, and unfortunately, spiders do multiply pretty fast, so I'm surprised they haven't addressed that. And that was a touch sloppy of Chibnall to not want to think that he can just resolve everything by putting them all in one big safe. That felt a bit sloppy. And so that definitely lowers it down. I'd say amongst the 4 episodes that have aired already, I'd say this would probably be, it'd be fighting Ghost Monument for 3rd place at this point. So, but nevertheless, it is still a really strong entry. It has been a consistently strong season all throughout, where it lacks in the storytelling, especially with cohesive storytelling and attention to plot details, it makes up for entirely with incredible character work, and this episode is another strong example of that. So, another win. So come again next week as we do the next episode with a title which I'm going to try and pronounce. And keep it here on Narcotic Casserole. Find us on Twitter, NarcoticCasserole1, Instagram, NarcoticCasserole25, and also keep it here. Like, share, and subscribe. Click that will be served for Cinema Schlock for Halloween, and then we've got our Double November coming up. So keep it here, and thanks again.